up, you guys? This is Rob from vYyVME Plays, and today on the snapshot, we're scoping out what Kanzu's packing in his new bounties when we take a look at both the Quartakk and the Stubba. Now, for those of you who are unaware, you can pick up both the Stubba and the Quartakk's blueprints in the new ghoul-specific bounties that Kanzu is offering. However, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, I'm not exactly sure how long they're going to be around for, mainly because of the fact that it does seem to be a time-limited event. Now, listening to DE staff talk about it, it seems like it's going to be treated kind of like infested outbreaks, so you'll probably see it more often than not. But if you don't happen to be able to pick it up through the bounties, you can always pick them up pre-built along with the weapon slot and catalyst for 190 plat for the Stubba and 210 plat for the Quartakk. Also be aware that they are available in the bundle, but I will go ahead and let you guys check that out for yourselves. Alrighty, now I usually don't do 2-for-1s when it comes to snapshots. However, I do have to admit I'm feeling a little bit run down and a tad under the weather, so I thought I would go ahead and combine both so that you can see how they really perform. So let's go ahead and jump into the Quartakk. Now this one is going to be interesting because I know you can see it right now. It's the dirty thing that's in the room. Yes, I do have 100 munitions on this build. And that's mainly because of the fact that I'd been playing around with different builds for it, and legitimately I was ready to kind of toss it to the wayside and say, this is just not doing it for me. It's not doing it for me at all. My original try with this was actually using corrosive and fire to really try to push the status chance on this. And for those of you guys who are curious, if you put 4 status elemental mods, this only gets it to like 99.1%. You might be able to play around with something with the Riven disposition, because if you can look, it's actually got 4 notches in it, so that means it's gonna have a pretty strong disposition. However, for me, I did not necessarily feel like it was great with just a pure status build. So I actually went ahead and did a little bit of a hybrid. You guys know how much I'm liking the viral / hybrid lately, and this one actually performed pretty well. I went ahead and looked at the IPS spread, and it's fairly balanced throughout. Slash isn't the top of the charts for here, but it's very, very close up there. So if we're thinking about it, it's gonna get its maybe slash damage output chunked down to a third. But even then, I think it performs better than when I was just using corrosive and fire to do the deed, as you would say. So let's go ahead and jump into some combat and see how this all plays out, because like I said, I felt really bad because when I went ahead and did the initial review of this, I was like, oh, this is feeling pretty good. This is not terrible at all. And then for some reason, it just felt like it started to choke. And I was just like, oh no. I went ahead and tossed it up against some abilities. And again, you know, I kind of stressed this out to everybody. You don't necessarily need to gauge your gameplay versus level 155 enemies. But you know, if we're looking at the way weapons will end up top ending, I do have to always kind of like play around with the higher end enemies. And as you can see right there, with Hunter's munitions and a little bit of viral, this thing can do, you know, a lot of damage. Now clearly, you know, I don't think we actually even took too many shots against this guy, and we were able to take him down pretty quick. So I'm thinking, you know, even if we do take a little bit of a hit to the slash damage in the future, it could still completely be viable. But like I said, when I was playing it just with straight up corrosive, it was taking way too long to kill enemies. It was like a clip and a half to take down one of these guys, and I was like, no. And I'm thinking that, you know what, even though, you know, Hunter's munitions may in the future not necessarily work on every weapon out there, well, every critical weapon out there, there's still going to be a chunk of weapons that it does perform quite well on, and I think that this is going to be one of them. The only thing else that I have to say about this weapon is, legit, why does this feel like a shotgun? Like, I think that, I laugh at it because I kind of like look at it and I'm like, DE made like some weird hybrid of a shotgun and a rifle. Y'all lied to me. Y'all made me think that this was going to be a rifle. It's not. It's basically a shotgun. Now, let's go ahead and talk about our problem child of the group, which is the Stubba. Now, here's the build that I'm currently using on it, and if I'm going to be frank, I've used a lot of builds on it, and I just can't. So this is the viral build. This is the last build that I tried out. We'll go ahead and take a look at several different builds for this. The thing about the Stubba that really frustrates me is it feels good. You know what I mean? Its fire rate feels good, like the way it shoots feels good, everything about it feels good. it just doesn't get the job done. Now, of course, again, this is against a level 155, and I almost need to like roll my eyes at myself at how ridiculous that sounds. Like, oh, it doesn't get the job done against a level 155. But the thing about it is, I've tried out so many different builds with this that I've tried to like promote the slash proc because this does have a good chunk of slash damage to it. But for some reason, it always ends up taking like 2 or more clips. And I was like, so just no matter what I do, you're always going to be kind of performing at this same stature. I was almost thinking that this is going to be like the single-handed version or Grenier version of the Axoletto. I was like, ooh, it's got fairly balanced stats. It's got a decent chunk of its damage in slash, as you can see right here. That's the second base of its IPS. That's the first base of its IPS. It's actually the highest. So part of me was like, ooh, maybe we could make that work. And I was like, all right, didn't quite work. Let's go ahead and work with Corrosive. I went ahead and did that with Corrosive. By the way, so I ran with Viral, and then I knocked out Scorch, and I put Hydraulic Crosshairs on there to get more crit, because I'm thinking, oh, we could do slash crit, slash crit with Viral, and then that would try to work, and it just performed the exact same. And I was like, no matter what I do, no matter what I put on you, you always feel the exact same. And it was so frustrating because I was like, I like the way that you handle. Look, this thing barely has any recoil, right? It just feels really, really, really nice. The sound quality of it is really, really nice. Just everything that it does feels quite good. But unfortunately, it always seems to perform the same. That's like 2 clips and a little bit more, right? I'm not crazy. That's pretty much the same it always is. And I've tossed Hydraulic Crosshairs on this as well. And a part of me is like, am I missing something? Is there something that I just don't get? Yes, I've tried Auger Pact on it too. That was actually my first try, and I was unimpressed by that. I was doing this live on stream, and I was like, you guys, are you feeling this? Because I'm not feeling it either. Because, you know, sometimes you need to get feedback, and you're like, maybe I'm missing something on the weapon, and everybody was just kind of like, nah, it's just not doing it. And a part of me was really, really sad, because you know what? I like the handling of the weapon. I like everything that kind of goes along with it. But as you can see, its performance, this is probably the best that I've seen its performance come through so far, you know? Is with Corrosive and Shot, but still at the end of the day, that's almost 2 clips for the enemy itself. Now, for the star chart, this thing will be just completely fine and dandy. So if you guys are, you know, worried at all about that, it's totally fine. Unfortunately, I don't have like a little ribbon notchy thing for it. You know, I don't have a ribbon disposition for it, and I think this is the best that it's performed. So this is going to be what I'm going to consider is the finalized build for it, because legit, I've tried other things, and it's just not doing it. Unless you guys want to see it with Auger Pact. Let's go ahead and toss Auger Pact on this real fast, and then we'll call it a day on the Stubba, because legitimately, it makes me sad. It makes me just a little bit sad. Because it's kind of like one of those ones that you want to work. I was like, I just want you to work. I just want you to do good. But unfortunately, sometimes it just doesn't happen. Yeah, I feel like it kind of performed the same, to be completely honest with you. I feel like it performed very similarly. It was about, it was almost 2 full clips. So, you know, Auger Pact or Hydraulic Crosshairs, whatever, like, makes you feel better at night, go ahead and do that. We'll just leave this here so you guys can kind of take that as the finalized build. But that about does it for that. That's kind of like the way that I'm feeling for the Stubba. So now you guys can kind of see exactly how I feel on both of these weapons. The Quartakk is really, really good with Hunter's Munitions. So far it seems to be performing great, and even if damage 2.5 comes through, I still think that this is one of those weapons that I would revisit and be like, huh, could you do something with Hunter's Munitions? At the same time, because of the fact that it's got a good ribbon disposition, at least the way that I was looking at it is if I could get fire rate and something else, like fire rate and a little crit, fire rate and a little bit more status, fire rate and a little bit more base damage, something along those lines, or maybe some critical chance or some critical damage with a little bit of something else, I would be really, really excited for this weapon. Maybe if we could get something along the lines of like critical chance and slash, or critical damage and slash, something to really kind of pump up the slash a little bit more to make it a little bit juicier when it comes down to that. As for the Stubba, it's okay. it's fine. I just wish it was a little bit better. It's going to perform really, really well on the star chart. Both of these weapons are going to do great on the star chart. But of course, if we're trying to put it up against, you know, the highest tier enemies, they do struggle a little bit. Well, the Stubba struggles a little bit. The Quartakk is just fine in its current state. But that about does it for now. I'm going to let you guys go and let you guys kind of marinate on how you feel about these two weapons. If you guys have managed to find a way to make these crazy, ridiculous OP, leave that in the comments below. If you feel like, you know, I did a pretty fair, balanced review on them, and you're kind of in the same boat as me, and you're like, they're not bad at all, go ahead and toss that in the comments as well, but I'm gonna leave that there. So as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and touch yo stubba. I'll chat with you guys next time. Bye-bye!